Are we live? Yeah, cool. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first Waves community meetup in Estonia, in Tallinn. Well, it's great to see you all tonight, a full house, which is quite a surprise because this is the first time we come to Estonia. And my name is Sasha Kolupaev, and I am communications manager at Waves platform. And together with my team, I work with the Waves community on many fronts. One of them is Waves Ambassadors program, which I will tell you briefly a little bit later, because maybe someone of you is interested to join. But I would like to already mention that this meetup was organized by one of our ambassadors, Alexander Bilousov, here in Tallinn. And thank you very much for making this happen. 1 second, I have my stream on the phone running. Yeah, no, it's good. So yeah, let's cut to the chase. Who in the room knows what blockchain technology is? Raise your hands. Oh, I like almost everybody. Yeah, no surprise here, because Estonia is very well known for its tech savviness, its being at the forefront of the digital innovation and digitalization in general. In fact, when I was a graduate student a few years back, I had a chance to attend a guest lecture by the former Estonian Prime Minister, Taavi Rõivas. But back then it was not about blockchain or decentralization. It was more about digital identity and other various programs that you have in Estonia and show example to the world. So second question, who is familiar with the Waves platform? Still a little bit fewer people, but still quite a lot, which is a pleasant surprise. So for those who are not familiar with Waves platform, I hope that you will find this event useful and knowledgeable. And my final question is, who in the audience is familiar with the current state of regulation and regulatory practices in crypto? Okay, just 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 hands. And that's given that we have quite some lawyers in the room today. It's still quite a murky waters, I'd say. But that's good, because today we have prepared an agenda that covers all 3 topics. So we'll start off with a presentation by Alexander Bilousov, Waves Ambassador, and he's going to tell about blockchain technology as a whole, Waves platform, smart contracts, and how Waves technology can be useful for business applications. Then we will take a short break and have a drink, have a quick bite. The food will be served around 8 o'clock in the back of the room. We will then I will shortly explain after that what blockchain oracles are and how they are used and what they're used for. And in fact, we will use one of those oracles to determine who's going to get the prize of the evening today, which is a hardware wallet, Ledger Nano S. That's a device that allows you to store your digital assets in a convenient way. And finally, our special guest for tonight, Artyom Tolkachev, from a non-profit association, Better Tokens, that is supported by Waves. We'll give a presentation about the current state of regulation in crypto and blockchain, about latest news and developments, and we'll take a deep dive into that topic as well. Finally, we will have some time for Q&A with all the speakers of today, followed by a networking session. So we will have time to exchange contacts, socialize, and talk about blockchain and crypto in a more private setting. Yeah, let's, without further ado, I'd like to invite Alexander to the stage. Alexander, please welcome, and thank you for organizing this.
Thank you, Sasha. Floor is mine. Hello from my side. Probably most of you know me, who based here in Estonia, but I'm dealing with a bit different stuff. And that might be a surprise for many of you, but actually I'm connected to blockchain technologies and especially Waves platform. To say more about my experience regarding blockchain, I'm in it since my friend, he's actually here at the moment, invited me to start mining Bitcoins. Yeah, and I did that. By starting mining that, I found out that just mining Bitcoins is not only an option how to invest in cryptocurrency. You have to use it as well. And the best possible way is to find a cryptocurrency, a crypto platform, which supports not just only crypto trading possibilities, for instance, like different cryptocurrencies does, but also provides different additional functionalities like smart contracts, for instance, decentralized exchange, etc., which we are going to talk about tonight. And of course, we are going to talk about a blockchain which actually is designed for business applications. Yeah, just smart contracts is not an easy toy to play with. It is designed, or it will be designed, yeah, for your needs. So basically, if you need something and it's not possible now, we never know when, what will become of blockchain in near future. So basically, give every time your feedback to us for any other crypto platforms you are using, and we will continue. Yeah? Basically. Today we are talking about specifically Waves blockchain. Yeah, this is a cutting-edge blockchain. Waves was founded in 2016, so basically it's a bit more than already 2 years. Waves is pretty well decentralized. It has at the moment more than 300 operating nodes. Not all of them are generating blocks, but let's say third of them are actually participating in generation process, but others are actually supporting platform by bankware, for instance, stock exchanges nodes and etc. By good decentralization, I mean also that nodes are located in many different countries. For instance, at the moment, there are at least 28 countries listed in our list where nodes are located. And we are not talking only about some dedicated servers, but also regular users like me, like you, could actually put up your own node at home. Because, for instance, it does not require too much resources to be used. Comparing, for instance, with blockchain technologies who are using proof-of-work algorithm like Ethereum or blockchain. Waves is proof-of-stake. What is blockchain, actually? Please raise your hands again. How many of you know what is blockchain? I'll give you a microphone. Maybe someone can comment. What do you think blockchain is? Who wants to say something?
Come on.
Come on, guys.
We had full house of hands, huh?
Now we don't have any hand. Yeah? This is actually a very tricky thing, yeah? Because in most cases, like I mentioned in the beginning, that blockchain are usually considered or thought of like it's a cryptocurrency. As I mentioned, blockchain is not only a cryptocurrency, just one example of possible usage. Exactly, that's right. Spread it, yeah, decentralized database. You're actually right. Maybe anyone can add to that. Yes. Anything else? I didn't catch it. Okay. Something else? So basically, blockchain is a technology, like you all said, and it's basically all about decentralization. You're absolutely right. It's a decentralized database which stores, but it's not just ordinary database. You cannot store, let's say, in a convenient way, movies in it. Yeah, you can, but it's not convenient. You can try, but it costs a lot. Yeah. For instance, we'll have information later in slides that amount of how much 1 megabyte costs to store information on different blockchains. For instance, we have examples regarding Ethereum or Waze. But we'll come back to it later. What is actually decentralization? Yeah. Imagine you basically want to send your family money and you're working abroad. Yeah. Basically, if you are using the services which are available now, you are paying actually high fees for that. Yeah. And by using blockchain, these fees can be neglected, and so we are very, very small comparing to some other platforms and etc. For instance, we have here on the board TransferWise, who actually providing a service a bit different, yeah. But they also wanted to disrupt the banking sector by providing something new. Blockchain actually does that as well. Transparency. Every information which is stored on blockchain is publicly available. You cannot change it. It is always there. It always, if it is put on blockchain, it stays on blockchain. So, for instance, we have here a small example regarding musician. Yeah, so you can build. Rick is a musician who has worked hard to build a following on social media, and now. He's looking to sign with a small record label, yeah. But he knows that usually artists are being exploited by using different labors. So he knows that artists, and it will be hard to know which labels are safe to sign with, yeah. So Rick's new label is a blockchain system. That means artists can be confident with intellectual property and deal it fairly. Traceability. You can always check in backwards what have been done. Yeah. Basically, if team wants to buy a pair of design trainers and at a heavy discount, yeah, he receives his package. He doubts about the quality of his goods, but has no way of checking their source. Yeah, with traceability, you can actually access the information from which components this specific pair of trainers have been built. So it's a new way of transforming information from let's say, AD platform, where information basically provided to customers, yeah, which you do not have access to, and make it available, and which can be traced by its initial source. Ownership. Imagine that you want a rare item, for instance, in an online game, yeah. And this online game supports connection with blockchain technology. You probably know everyone about CryptoKitties. Who does know? Only one. No one else heard about CryptoKitties. Okay, some of you does. That's good. It's actually this is an item which is based on blockchain. And if you own it, only you can have it. If something happens to game or something like that, when you won't be able to lose it in any way, because you own a private key of the address where you store the specific item. You lose the item. Yeah. If you, that's the actual base of a blockchain. Yeah, basically, if you own a private key, if you lose it, you lose the access to your money. So keep that in mind. But if you want to have if you want to use a blockchain, yeah, if you want to use a cryptocurrency, just be sure to store your private keys very safely. Duplicate them. I don't know. Use notary, for instance, yeah, and that way you definitely won't lose your access. And be sure not to use any public computers when you're trying to access any cryptocurrency wallets and etc. without being concerned that it's safe to use. Autonomy, yeah. Basically, it's as all information is stored on blockchain, every party can access the data that is stored on blockchain, and you don't have to worry about it, that it disappears somehow. And with the help of smart contracts, basically, that if some stage of a process has been completed, it is triggered. It can trigger a next stage of a process automatically without any additional work to be done by any people. Yeah, exactly. As it said, that blockchain, by using smart contracts, you can ensure that when the work is done, the automation, the payment for this process is being done automatically. Trust. Do you trust your bank? No? Why? I don't know. I'm just asking. Basically, blockchain, as the data belongs to you, private key belongs to you. Basically, you are the only sole owner of funds, of assets, yeah, crypto assets, yeah. Because you only have access to them. So you can trust blockchain even if it's really decentralized. Yeah, no one can get to you or get something from you or prohibit in some way to use it. If this platform, let's say, is not compromised. Yeah, for instance, there are different platforms, blockchain platforms, where decentralization is not achieved or achieved on very small number of nodes. For instance, Waves, as I mentioned, we have more than 300 nodes already. Yeah, but in some platforms, there are a lot more generating nodes. That basically means that they can agree on different forks, which might impossible loss of trust to that platform. I believe that won't happen to Waves because we are growing every day, and the information which is put on blockchain, yeah, you can trust it. Yeah, no one can get it from you. Basically, by automating your work within the platform, you can always improve cash flows and increase your profits. Yeah, because you can remove any unnecessary middlemen. Yeah, where if you want to pay someone, yeah, the payments which can be done in real time. If you can accept or predict exact specific numbers which will be used within this specific budgets or cash flows. Yeah, as I mentioned before, transparent and streamlined business process could be arranged with blockchain. Reduced paperwork and, of course, increased security. Yeah? Tomorrow's business model is today, actually. Blockchain, to my mind, is yet not mature enough to facilitate any business now, yeah, or any business models. But it's growing, and possible new developments are there, and we are always constantly looking for a feedback to make a better developments. For instance, the sharing economy in 2022 will reach for about 40 billion. Internet as a technology, yeah, enabled this kind of business. Yeah. For instance, look at Uber or Airbnb, where a lot of different transactions And now, with the use of blockchain, we can actually remove the middlemen which are being used by these big firms, for instance, by eliminating, by providing a more cheap way of committing transaction. Yeah. Of course, Web 3.0, a lot of next generation applications, websites, they are moving from centralized servers and are and are using resources with distributed power based on blockchain. Everything blockchain basically is about everything. You can think about anything about on the blockchain. For instance, such sectors like internet, of course, paying is already available. Advertising by using blockchains. Yeah, for instance, if you look at Waves, on our hand, it gives a really easy opportunity or functionality to create a token. Yeah, and it is used at the moment not just only for tokenizing things, yeah, but for commercial opportunities as well. Also, public services, for instance, cinema tickets. Yeah, you can issue crypto ticket, yeah, to visit the cinema. Of course, finance. Yeah, a lot of banks are trying to use distributed ledger technology within their networks, yeah, to reduce the costs of transactions between banks. Yeah, logistics. Like already mentioned, that you can track everything on blockchain. You can put all the information regarding media, ownership rights, healthcare. But you always need to keep in mind that just recently a GDPR went into force. And if you store something on blockchain, you need to store information which is not which mustn't be deleted after that, because it cannot be deleted later. So while developing any business models for any blockchain, not comparing, I don't mean just using Waves, yeah, but any blockchain, keep that always in mind. Yeah. Any other platforms, industries like agriculture, insurance, intellectual and property rights. I think even in future we will be able to see companies' shares which are presented like cryptocurrency tokens. Smart contracts, yeah, this is very interesting part of blockchains. Yeah, basically. In Waves platform, smart contracts were integrated are going to be integrated in 2 steps. The first step already been activated, yeah. But before continuing to that, yeah, who actually understands what smart contract is? You have an idea. You want to share thoughts?
No, I really curious how it works in the technological point of view. That's my
Okay,
key.
okay. So basically,
I know what it has to do and what it does, but I would like to know how it's implemented.
Okay. We don't have a development meetup today, yeah. But basically, I'll try to answer to that question in a moment, yeah. Basically, smart contract is a digital agreement, yeah, written into the code, and as it's deployed to the network, in most cases, if you leave a backdoor for you so you can change it, you can change it. Otherwise, if it's not where it stays the way it has been uploaded to blockchain. Yeah, it executes automatically when specific conditions are met. So basically, you cannot remove it or change it in any way. Yeah, if you agree to, for instance, exchange something, yeah, for something, for one asset to another asset within a blockchain. Yeah, it can't be done trustless without any middleman by use of smart contracts. For instance, I have already mentioned that Waves is developing their smart contracts in 2 stages. The first one is already available to use, to be used. This is called the smart accounts. Smart accounts are a lightweight smart contracts designed with increased security. They are cheaper because you don't because all possible calculations are already there within the price of executing a smart contract or uploading smart contract. So if you compare smart accounts of Waves platform with smart contracts of Ethereum platform, where you need always a gas, and depending on the size and complexity of smart contract and the price changes and number of transactions on the platform, it can always change. So by using Ethereum, for instance, you cannot guarantee the stability of using the platform if you at least don't have enough funds to power the smart contracts. With smart accounts on Waves, there is no such issue because it's pre-calculated. Maximum amount of fee which is required can be already done. Also, smart accounts are simplified, or they're designed with a focus on user friendliness, and they can be created very easily. To tell you the truth, I tried myself. I did some very easy stuff with tutorial, but if you want, you can always try a more. You can try it yourself and dive deeper to make something more crucial. Because on our documents, you can check for some examples. Because it has lightweight architecture, it requires less resources and the load on the blockchain. Wave smart contracts doesn't store basically the data. For the data transaction, for the data storage, there is a separate data transaction. Wave smart accounts, smart accounts utilizes the data transactions which are on Waves platform. Of course, Waves has low fees, because execution costs are, like I mentioned before, are known upfront. How smart accounts are working? As I mentioned, that account itself has only the script. And within that script, were all integrated all possible preconditions which could smart contract be using while it's being executed, and if these conditions basically are not met, the transaction possible is declined. For instance, a small scheme here. Basic use cases. I try to create myself a multi-signature wallet. And it's pretty easy smart contract, but more sophisticated. But still basic use cases for smart contracts are atomic swaps, different workflows, and oracles. Later today, Alexander already mentioned that we will have a lottery. We will decide with the help of Oracle, which is being deployed on the Waves blockchain, who will be the winner. So how many of you actually registered your wallet? Okay, about a third.
We got 25 registered wallets.
25 registered wallets. Okay, that's
around
good.
there.
I hope everyone is here also, or because we'll be waiting a bit more time if we select one who is not available here. Atomic swaps, basically use case where you can exchange different crypto tokens, for instance, directly and safely between even different blockchains. Workflows, smart accounts allow to design different custom workflows. and which can run on blockchain and etc. When conditions are met, it sticks to the next stage. When new conditions are met, basically it goes to the next, and etc. and etc. The next steps, as I mentioned, that smart accounts are already on platform and on a mainnet. They can be used. You can use it. You can try it. And in a few months, probably, I don't know exact dates, smart contracts with sophisticated approach, basically Turing complete approach, you can create almost anything on blockchain. Whether it will have any, let's say, gas similar possibilities or not, it's not yet clear, yeah. But team constantly working on that to deliver a best approach there is. What I like about Waves actually is that Waves is not just copying any other project. For instance, as you can see, there are a lot of different blockchain projects on the market, but most of them are just similar ideas with a bit different implementation. There are probably 10, 20 projects which are in sort of unique. Yeah, Waves is also a unique project. Yeah, but a lot others are not so unique actually. If you talk about blockchain systems. Of course, if you talk about Waves. Let me check. Do we have? Yes, we have a slide about Waves advantages. Waves is actually one of the fastest blockchain at the moment. Recent year in December, Waves NG was introduced, which helps, which gives the platform possibility with a very high throughput. At the moment, you'll see on next slide, we have more than 100 transactions per second, but this number of transactions is limited by the code at the moment, which could be written later if it's required. Yeah, on test network, if I'm not mistaken, we hit around 5,000 transactions per second. Yeah. With mass transactions, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the first test we did in December last year, I believe we had more than 100 transactions per second, even without mass transaction. With mass transaction, yeah, more than 5,000 transactions per second could be achieved. Comparing to Ethereum, Ethereum has probably maximum 7 transactions per second at the moment. Bitcoin even less. Waves price at the moment on the market is comparing to Bitcoin or Waves or several other cryptocurrencies is much lower, meaning that the transaction costs are also much lower. But initial numbers for one transaction, for instance, in Waves, it's 0.001 waves. To make one transfer transaction. In Ethereum, amount is the same, but the value amount is almost the same, but the value of Ethereum or Waves differs at least 100 times.
Well, there is always a possibility to submit a proposal by the miners, and the miners can vote upon a proposal and reduce the fixed fee.
Actually, it's a good question, and it's a bit how to say it. Yeah, Waves, as I mentioned, it uses proof of stake algorithm, even least proof of stake algorithm, meaning that all the fees that miners are earning comes from transactions only. Yeah, so. If you look at the number of possible transactions which can be achieved on Waves, yeah, for instance, if I activate or change the code a bit, yeah, and allow to do 1,000 transactions per second, that means that you can have more than 85 million transactions per day, per 24 hours. Imagine how much it could cost, yeah, in Waves. Just multiply it with at least 0.001. Yeah, now you understand that the amount of Waves to be used to amass such number of transactions, yeah, is very huge. That means that you cannot, there probably won't be enough waves available, or if waves price goes up at some point in time, yeah, the miners can decide, yeah, to lower the transaction costs, because with the price higher, probably users will be starting to think that we should stick to something else. So it is always a good to keep a balance between number of transactions and cost for the transactions. Amount of transactions, yes, are adjustable. Yeah, yeah. And at the moment, why it actually was set as a limit, as I mentioned, we have more than 300 nodes. Third of them are generating nodes. Yeah. Imagine if we could store a lot of transactions in one block, meaning that fees from that block are not distributed properly between different nodes who are supporting the network. So by limiting number of transactions within a block, you can distribute fees from transactions between different blocks. So we are getting, being sent to different nodes. That is why, in the end, all the node operators win. Also, with Waves and G, we are distributing part of the fees to the generator, which has actually generated the block, and half of the fees, part of the fees, it's 60-40% share, and half, other half of the fees going to the next miner, which designed for that you can eliminate not eliminate, but you will try to reduce number of possible forks while you are getting a number of fees from previous block if you are redirecting or redirecting to previous block. So if you want to stick to, if you want to fork basically blockchain, yeah, you probably will lose some of previous fees earned. Cost-effective solution, yeah, okay, it was discussed already. Within Waves platform, Waves wallet, decentralized exchange is implemented. As you have raised in your hands, about 25 persons actually have wallets. But how many of you did try to use Waves decentralized exchange? Okay, 10. Yeah, okay, half of you. Basically, this is peer-to-peer exchange, which provides an instant way to exchange a token between each other. It is based on a matcher, where matcher is a centralized service, which actually connects to different orders, buy and sell order, yeah, if they're of the same price, and matcher executes the transaction. Until that, all orders or all money you are holding cryptocurrency tokens and etc. are in your possession. If something happens, I'll ask such question: how many of you know about Mt. Gox? Okay, some of you. How many of you lost your money in Mt. Gox? Okay, nice question. Yeah. Decentralized exchange is a way to save you from such failures, yeah, let's say, yeah? Because you always keeping your money in your hands. Yeah, you don't give it to any exchange and etc. Diverse other powerful features, yeah, like fiat gateways, easy token operations. Yeah, at Waves platform there are probably more than 20,000 tokens created. Not all of them are legit one or good ones, yeah, because there are a lot of users who just like to try the technology, how it's done, and it's very cheap, considering amount of work you have to do to create a similar ERC21 token on Ethereum, yeah, in waves you can do it basically in just one click and paying one wave. But remember, you should check the name of the token you're creating if it's specifically unique. Otherwise, spam filters that have been integrated by community could mark it as a spam. Fiat gateways, yeah. At the moment on Waves platform, we have Waves Euro and Waves USD, basically, which is being delivered to us by a third party. It's not decentralized, yeah, but still there is a way to directly send your euros from Waves platform and vice versa, or to Waves platform. We have a lot of different tokens of our cryptocurrencies. But we are Waves tokens. We are not native. For instance, we have a Waves Bitcoin, yeah, which is with the help of gateway could be exchanged for real Bitcoin on a real blockchain, Bitcoin blockchain. But as long as Bitcoin doesn't have a very or native decentralized exchange, yeah, it is much more easier to trade your Bitcoins, yeah, on native decentralized exchange within the platform. And store them also for that purpose, and if needed, just send them out from a platform to real blockchain if you need it. Why to choose Waves? Yeah, as I mentioned, Waves comparing to, for instance, Ethereum is using least proof of stake protocol. Yeah, Ethereum uses proof of work. Proof of work means that you need to you are using the network or securing the network by providing a power, yeah, by doing a work. Work is doing actually by computer. It's computational power. Yeah, the more you have, the more value you bring to the network. The more power, and that is why the more power is needed to actually attack the network. Yeah? With proof of stake, your stakes, basically your own waves, are the protection of the whole network. And every user of Waves platform can put up their own node and participate in block generation process, or you can just lease out Waves to any other node who is willing to share part of its revenues, which node receives via transaction fees. Yeah, and be sure that you won't lose your Waves, because it's leasing. While you have a leasing transaction active, you are still owning the base Waves, and they are still in your possession. At the time of need to use them, you just can cancel this leasing transaction and use it as you please. Current prices depends, yeah. It's as of August. In August it was about 2 USDs. At the moment it's probably a bit less than 2 USD. But still about 2 USDs, yes, if you just multiply it by the number of waves required for one at least transaction, yeah, you can see that it's less one cent of USD dollar. But in Ethereum, yeah, it's much more. Yeah, for contract execution, prices are here as well. Yeah, so it's difference. It differs very store. I promised you to show information regarding storage, how much actually it costs to store data on the platform. Yes? At the moment, At the moment, it's about 1 or 2%. Yeah, it's, let's say, if you look the whole this year, yeah, starting from the beginning of the year, yeah, the number of transactions was low on the beginning of the year, but starting from August, number of transactions has considerably risen. Yeah, and if this amount of transaction continues, you can actually have about up to 2% of annual income. Comparing to bank interest rate at the moment, yeah, it's a lot of times higher, yeah. But still, 2% is not a big sum. But as I mentioned, we have a lot of growth potential by the number of transactions. At the moment on Waves, how many we have? About 10 transactions per second, even less, yeah? It depends from day to day. So not more than, yeah. But imagine if at least grow 10 times. We have a capacity, platform is scalable, we can grow even more than 10 times if needed, yeah? Which is why in near future, possible income could be, for instance, 10–20% per year, when that investment could be much more interesting. Agree? Yeah. For instance, if you look just for small calculations, yeah, here's a Uber example. But I have a little different example comparing. I was thinking about yesterday, more suitable for Estonian market. Imagine parking places, parking with your mobile phone. Yeah, with every activation of parking, you are paying mobile service operator. Yeah, all this could be done within Waves. Yeah, as you see in the prices for only activation price change for the parking, you could get much cheaper parking possibilities, yeah, and faster. Basically, the parking space provider could receive money also instantly, while you are paying in cryptocurrency or any other token. You are accepting on the platform. You could actually create your own token and use it as a base to pay for the parking and sell it on decentralized exchange. For instance, just create a market for that. Users come to decentralized exchange, buy, for instance, let's say 10 parking tickets, and every time you park, you are going to pay with at least one ticket or something like that. Yeah? Different examples. But for Estonia is a small country. Yeah? There are probably not a lot of such transactions. But if you look at the Uber example, yeah, you can see that the same amount of rights and possible transaction within that could mean a very different amount of money which could company could save. Yeah, that basically means that a lot of lost revenues are hidden if you are going to use more cheap and effective platform. If you haven't tried it now, you can always do it. You can download it at wavesplatform.com. It is available for any platform, platform, Windows, Macintosh. Yeah, you can use everything. Apple. Yeah. Our software is easy. It is very intuitive, and it has many different languages, basically. Estonian language is not yet available, but I'll do it some other time. So get try to use it, and definitely give us your feedback. If you want something else, if you think that you like something else, we have a feedback form which could be used for future developments. To sum it up, basically Waves incorporates everything you need, and everything is there right in one client. Yeah, it's a multi-currency wallet by using Waves token within the ecosystem. Yeah, it is fast, it is low cost. You can create tokens on this platform very easily. Decentralized exchange is a top notch, believe me. As you can see, small screenshot is in background here. It's just similar to any other centralized crypto exchange. And of course, you can do real-time trading and settlements within the blockchain by using smart contracts or just exactly the decentralized exchange we have in now. I would give my word to Alexander because he wanted to, he promised.
Yeah, I'll just say a few words about the ambassadors program that we're running.
Yes,
yeah, and then
exactly.
we can have a break.
We can have questions also.
Questions, we'll do them in the QA afterwards with all the speakers on stage. So we do have an ambassadors program, and that is basically a community-oriented program where we work with active members of the community in different countries, and they represent Waves locally. So we have 3 tracks. We have local ambassadors who organize meetups like this. We have consuls who participate in conferences as visitors or speakers, and they also approach local businesses and governments, municipalities, do some consulting about blockchain, about applications and implementation. And then we also have technical ambassadors, and this is more for developers who can take up a project, develop it on the Waves platform, and receive a reward for that. Or they can find a bug in the Waves platform and report it and also get a reward, and which is a very it's a very common practice in the IT industry to have a bug bounty program like that. So on that note, I invite you guys to have a drink, and let's take a break of like 10-15 minutes, and then we'll do the lottery. Let's start taking our seats. Is there anyone still in the back? People in the kitchen. Come over here. All right, so Alexander mentioned briefly about oracles. Does anyone know what oracles are and how they're used in blockchain systems? Okay, we got one hand. And maybe if you want to explain?
Sure. Oracles transfer data from the global internet to the smart contracts on the blockchain. Because the smart contracts on the blockchain cannot use data from the internet except data from...
Exactly. Well, actually, blockchains are not connected to the real world in a way, including internet. So you need something to connect blockchain world and digital world and the real world. And that's what oracles are used for. So they broadcast real world data or random numbers or text data or anything you basically tell it to broadcast. So those are like machines that on waves use data transactions to send data to, for example, a smart contract as an input. And then a smart contract takes this input and does whatever it's programmed to do. So, and one of the use cases for an oracle is a random number generation. And that's a very interesting and important use case because, for example, in the gaming industry, lots of things are dependent on the random numbers. Any gambling, any card game, even tic-tac-toe, to determine who goes first, you need to throw a coin, right? So if you wanted to build a game on a blockchain, you would have to use an oracle for random number generation. And to showcase today, actually there is an oracle on the Waves blockchain that was developed by a team of by an external team of developers from the community called Tradices. And thank you very much, guys, for developing such a solution and actually open sourcing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the wallets that you provided upon the registration for the meetup, and we're going to randomly pick a wallet who's going to get the prize. So this Centaur Oracle that we have here broadcasts numbers on every 5 blocks on the Waves blockchain. Well, actually, it's not a number, it's a mix, it's a string of characters and numbers. What we're going to do, we're going to take the next random number that is broadcasted by the Oracle, pick first 5 digits in the string, divide it by the number of participants, take the remainder, and that's going to be the number of the wallet that's going to get the prize. So let's just demonstrate it and we'll go through step by step. It might take a little bit because it broadcasts a random number every 5 blocks, and a full block can be generated in under a minute. So might potentially be, on average, that would be 5 minutes or so, but I hope we can get it faster. Yeah, and in the meantime, if you have questions about the first presentation, please raise your hands and we'll pass down the mic and take a few questions while we're waiting for the winner. So, are there any questions in the audience?
I got a question.
Yeah. Can someone pass? Can you pass the mic?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, man.
Hey, so you were talking about like verifiable RNGs and all that good stuff when it comes to online gaming. Do you think that there's any like solutions out there right now to where, say, like somebody's playing Texas Hold'em and you usually have like centralized hosts playing out the cards?
Yep.
Do you think that we could see anything anytime soon where, you know, a lot of these gambling platforms like PokerStars, for example, or maybe like Fortnite or something, when people are actually playing with real money, that there could be a decentralized host maybe like making the calls versus somebody that knows what the fuck's going on?
Well, in fact, there are MVPs on.
It's all good.
There are MVPs already on the Ethereum network, for example, but
Okay.
those are not really those are not really usable for technical reasons because, first of all, the fee is not known in advance. So that's kind of a problem if you run an online gaming portal. You want to know your transaction costs, like fixed in advance. And then a number of these kind of MVPs were hacked, or like online betting. Like I think yesterday there was news that EOS
Yeah,
was
Dice got
hacked. EOS betting platform was hacked for the second time.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, this is. I'm not a developer myself, but there are vulnerabilities in the way how smart contracts are implemented on the Ethereum or EOS platform that can be used to hack. Yeah, but it's good that you asked this question because tomorrow there is a big conference in Minsk, Belarus. It's a crypto gaming. I think it's called Crypto Gaming Conference. I don't know if you've heard.
Yeah, I pitched that to one of my clients.
Oh, really?
They're actually trying to build a protocol for this kind of stuff, and I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around it on if there's like a true solution out there because, I mean, I kind of believe in these guys, but I kind of don't at the same time.
So yeah, tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, our developers are going to be presenting there, like the tools for the gaming solution platforms.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't want to spoil it, but. And then there's also going to be a team of tradices with a new game on the Waves blockchain that's also going to be presented tomorrow at Minsk.
Okay.
And that's going to be based on Wave smart contracts.
Okay.
That's not going to be a gambling game, but it's going to be a proper MVP that is using Wave smart contracts.
Okay, cool.
And Oracle and some other tools that you might find useful as a developer yourself.
I'm not a developer.
Yeah.
But do you have any names for any of these projects that are actually trying to build this protocol, like for a safer gaming environment? I know you said there was a few building their MVPs, but I don't have any names.
I personally, well, off the top of my head, like a solid business that's operational, like PokerStars kind of thing?
Nah, like a crypto startup, man.
Nothing widespread. No, I haven't.
Funfair?
Which one?
Yeah, Funfair's a good one.
Dice to Win. There is one, dice2win.io, I think. There's
Okay.
one that's based on Ethereum, but that's very like basic. You can roll a dice, you can flip a coin. You
It's
can
all
roll 2 dice.
decentralized.
Yeah.
It's like shoot dice with your mobile device, kind of.
But it is based on, no, the execution of a smart contract is decentralized there, but it's like very simple, basic games.
Okay.
Nothing like turn-by-turn strategy like Civilization or, this kind of stuff is not yet viable.
Okay, word.
So,
All right. Well, I'll pass this mic up. My questions are concluded. Thanks, buddy.
you're welcome. Let's see what is the current block. So yeah, in one block that should be actually, yeah, we got a winner. So that's a winner with the wallet. Does anyone know their wallet by name, by heart? Well, I got a list here. So it's 3PG, VA. It's Yevgeny. Is Yevgeny in the audience? Depends which. Wait. Yeah, but there is only one in the list. So I guess that's you. So please come on stage and we'll. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You have been picked by chance, and
I hope so, because he's actually, where is he? He's actually my brother, right? Sorry, guys.
oh, that's awkward. But to make sure that the game is not wrecked, that's why we use blockchain and blockchain oracle, because you can go and check that we actually took that number up there. Well, yeah, we basically have it here written down. We took that number that was broadcasted to the blockchain, grabbed first digits, divided it by 25, which is the number of participants. We took the remainder after the division, and the remainder was 1, and Yevgeny is number 1 on my list in the list of registrations. So yeah, that's how it works. Cool. So now we have our third speaker, Artyom Tolkachev from Better Tokens. Please welcome on stage. Thank you for coming. And the mic is yours.
Thank you. Hey guys. Congratulations with your ledger. Hope you have something to store. So yeah, my name is Artyom Tolkachev. I'm a lawyer actually by my background, working with crypto since 2013, helping various crypto exchanges, brokers, and so on and so forth. Then spent a couple of years in Deloitte as a head of blockchain lab and working closely with Waves team, helping them to stay in the not to come to the dark side of the crypto economy from the legal perspective. So today I'm going to share with you some thoughts regarding the regulation in the field of the crypto and blockchain. And I would like to start with presentation of Better Tokens. It's an initiative started by Waves about a year ago, together with various market players. As you may know, for the last 2 years, tokenization, mostly called ICOs, become a very well-known part of the crypto business, and a lot of attention was paid to how to get money out of the ICO, but not so many attention was paid to the process of building something legally correct, protecting investors or something like this. A lot of scam over all this topic, and of course for the Waves, as for the platform for tokenization, this situation wasn't so good. So Waves decided to start the initiative with the various market players and to start the Better Tokens Tokenization Standard Association. Tries to combine the experience of various jurisdictions and build in a sort of standards for market players. So here we are. About a year ago, we started this this initiative, and for the last year, we developed the standards. You're welcome to the site of Better Tokens. You can find the standards and the code of conduct over there. And my colleague Georgi will later on speak a little bit about the standards. We have a team, and we have the special status of qualified token issuer. Right now we're promoting it to the various exchanges, tries to build the ecosystem with some level of security to investors. The standards is merely about goal of the project. So of course we should understand, and every tokenizator should understand why blockchain and why tokens should be in the project. And as you may imagine, regarding the various ICOs that you may see for the last 2 years, usually you're reading the white paper and tries to explain to yourself where is blockchain here, why tokens should be here. And it sounds a little bit crazy why so many projects get so much money for the last 2 years regarding this tokenization processes. Of course, we pay a lot of attention to investor protection, to risk management, and some kind of due diligence. As I said, my colleague Georgi will later on explain in more details what are the standards and how we use them. I would like to speak with you about some trends over the regulation over the CIS and other countries on practical examples. So we are very actively discussing with the various regulators how can we use the particular jurisdiction for having a sort of businesses there. And for the last 3 weeks we visited Malta and Luxembourg, and I will use these 2 jurisdictions just to share some thoughts of what's going on the regulatory field. So Malta is very well known for their attempts to become a blockchain island. So they're very active developing regulation on crypto exchange, on blockchain as a technology, and so on and so forth. So we spent a couple of days discussing with the state authorities, Malta Financial Service Authority, Malta Digital Innovation Authority, and even the Prime Minister, what's going on. So first of all, they implemented the licensing process for crypto exchange, and as we see right now, it's going on all over the world. So a lot of jurisdictions tries to implement some kind of licensing for exchange businesses. So it became the mainstream at the moment. So in Malta, they have the 12-month grace period starting 1st of November, and after this period, each and every exchange should work under their special regulatory conditions with minimal capital of something like €1 million. A lot of AML KYC processes and a lot of other very classical requirements. The next big thing is security token offering. So I think you heard about security token offering. It's something like a traditional ICO, but with the security behind the token. Right now we see a lot of attention from the market to this type of fundraising, and Waves is very actively working on creating the ecosystem which will allow businesses to use advantages of tokenization and stay in comply with regulation by issuing some kind of security like bonds or something like this. The other thing with Malta is system audit. It's part of the regulation initiative regarding the regulation of blockchain itself as a technology. So they tries to to understand the regulator in Malta and regulators across the whole Europe tries to understand what is blockchain and what is not blockchain, because as you may know, right now we have a lot of different blockchain systems with different types of consensus, with a different level of security. So in Malta, they tries to establish the special requirements for blockchain system and tries to audit this system somehow. The next jurisdiction which I would like to discuss you with is Luxembourg. They're also very well known regarding the crypto space. So the first ever licensed European exchange, Bitstamp, what was set up in Luxembourg 2015. We discussed with the regulator the next and one other popular topic is stablecoin. So stablecoin is some kind of token which is backed by the fiat money. You may know a few examples of stable coins like USDT and 3 or 4 others. But regarding the all current stable coins, we see a lot of uncertainty and a lot of questions that raised up by community. Does they really backed by some assets, or it's just a tokens without any value behind? So Luxembourg is promoting the regulation for crypto for the last 4 years. But the very interesting thing is they doesn't want to deal with the crypto. So speaking about the Bitstamp and other exchange, they pay attention only for the fiat part of the business and skip the crypto one. So here's some current market trends. So we see a lot of attention to the stable coin and see that the regulators tries to understand how should they react on these processes, and Waves are very actively trying to build the systems that will be compliant with as much regulation as we can. So I think I will end here. Would be glad to answer your questions, and maybe we will continue with the standards. So please, Georgi.
Thank you. My name is Georgi, and I'm secretary of Better Tokens. I'm responsible for coordinating the work of the association, all sort of work streams with the members that we have, all the proposals that we look at, and today, well, as Artem mentioned, we will briefly present you basically the main result of our work for this year, which are the tokenization standards. So basically, the aim of this document was to set up a unified set of rules which could be applicable to token issuers in different jurisdictions by using the experience and the practical knowledge of our members in different countries, and building a document which will cover not only legal aspects, but also the technology part, the tax and accounting part, because basically the team of Better Tokens consists of very different specialists in different fields. And well, as Artem mentioned, the document is published on our website, and today I will just go through main points that are included. So the first one is the project goal, and this is something very basic, and besides that we see that there are many projects on the market that basically don't have this. So basically what we try to achieve here is to set a rule for token issuers that the fundraising itself should never be the goal of the project. The team should basically have a clear goal and clear business plan in order to be able to spend effectively the money that they collect. This can be basically economic purpose when you aim to gain profit at some time. This can be social purpose when you don't aim at gaining any profits, but to providing any additional value to the community. But you need to have a goal. The second part is related to protection of the investors, and this is basically focused on requirements for the white papers of the projects. We elaborated those. I think that's the part where we put the most efforts on. And basically, we divided it in two parts. The communications that the issuers take when they are raising the funds. So basically, the pre-sale and the sale campaign itself. And then the communications that they have to make after the ICO campaign is over, to basically communicate with the investors on the achievement of the timelines and the project goals that they established. The next two parts basically relates, first one to risk management, and this is this can be well a little bit more in terms of compliance with the regulations that each specific jurisdiction can require from the project. And those are divided in different type of risks that any ICO project can face because of the fundraising activities and because of the activities that we perform after that. And basically in the standards, we not only mention those risks, but we also propose our view on how those risks can be assessed and mitigated, and what mechanisms for such purposes the project might use. And the last part relates to some sort of best practices that we see amongst the issuers on the market that we believe are really doing great in terms of compliance with different type of regulations. We have summarized them as some sort of guidelines for the issuers, so those are not really a must-have followed standards, but some sort of best practices around the market. And those basically refer to the platform and the token issue standards that the project use, the security audits of the smart contracts, whether it's done by independent party or by the project team, and also some sort of measures that are aimed at combating scam websites, scam tokens that basically can be created with the purpose of fraudulent purpose, and also to engage proper project management team and proper advisors in each jurisdiction where the project intends to operate. So as we mentioned, the document is published on our website. You are welcome to take a look at it. We also admit any comments, questions, or whatever suggestions you may have. And all this part of effort is related to what Tom mentioned at the start, which is the qualified issuer status that we are planning to award to the projects that comply with basically the guidelines that we outline in the standards. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, I would like to welcome all speakers on stage now, and if we have some questions still in the audience, I'll be running down with the microphone and passing it over to you. Okay, so yeah, I'll just... So...
Small for us.
Any further questions besides what we already had? Okay, there's one.
Will Waves platform have something similar to Ethereum as a stablecoin? For example, they use DAI at the moment. That is basically a smart contract that locks up Ethereum and use Oracle to peg to the US dollar, so that you wouldn't need to rely on like euros and dollars for central institutions.
very interesting question. My vision here is that it's not a stable coin by Ethereum. It's a stable coin which utilizes Ethereum technology. So Waves as a platform, of course, tries to get as much project as we can, and of course, if some kind of similar project would like to use Waves for stablecoin purposes on something like this, we will be welcome this project. From our point of view, we are trying to build a few part of the Waves ecosystem. Stablecoin is one part of the ecosystem, which will allow to use blockchain in a more sufficient way. So in our strategy, this stablecoin should be connected as much as we can with the regulator and with the current legislation of particular European, for example, jurisdiction. So speaking about the technical part, would it use a smart contract, or would it use some kind of other technology setup? It's not, so I'm not actually ready to answer it right now, because at the moment what we are focusing on is regulation part, because each and every stablecoin project face regulation at the moment, because a lack of understanding from the regulators, a lot of pressure by banks, and so on and so forth. And if we're speaking about a stablecoin which is connected with the fiat, you should always pay attention to the fiat part of the project. That's it.
But how far in the future do you see, like how long it can take to actually get this legislation?
Speaking about the legislation, we see a lot of efforts from the regulators all over the globe, and in particular in Europe. We have a lot of conversation, as I mentioned before, with the most innovative regulators in Europe at the moment, and actually regulation itself is already at a place. So what we would like to get at the moment is understanding by the banks, by the fiat institution, because if you even have the regulation, for example, in Belarus, we were somehow involved into developing regulation in Belarus. As you may know, in December 2017, Belarus adopted the decree on crypto, a lot of opportunities, but after a year, none of the banks in Belarus are ready to work with a crypto company. So you have a in Malta, the same situation actually. My first question to the Maltese guys was, do you have a bank that would be ready to work with a regulated entity, crypto entity? No. The answer was no. For us, as for an entity, so we have a lot of requirements by regulator, but we doesn't have a lot of possibility from the traditional fiat banking system. So it's very questionable, should we go ahead or should we wait, or should we try to find something else? So actually regulation already exists, but we face the lack of understanding from the traditional banking institutions of these regulations and possibility to work with them. And I couldn't answer your, I couldn't tell you that it would be ready in a month or in a year. I believe it would be soon, because as I said, everything already exists, and it's just a matter of time when we can start. So today we had a meeting with one of the local banks here. I wouldn't mention what was the bank, but they're very actually they're very well prepared. They understand the topic. They understand their risks. They understand the possibilities of the crypto. So I believe that here you will have a very in a few maybe months, you will have some kind of instrument locally.
Hello. Well, my question won't have an exact answer, probably. Well, I'm an early miner of Bitcoins. Back then, in 2010, we had a common shared goal of anonymous future and free transaction fees. But we end up with regulations, licenses, like anti-money laundering, know your customer, etc., and which kills, first of all, the main idea, anonymous world, for us. Second, if you follow all those regulations, it will become same slow and expensive. It costs money to follow all that shit. And what's your idea or comments? How would this end up? Because how I see it leads that governments want to take control over the crypto world, and basically it won't be much different from bank systems, basically.
Yeah, thank you. It's a very common question actually, but I haven't heard it for the last 3 years. When I came to the crypto in 2013, so everybody were much more about crypto anarchism, so no state, no regulation, crypto freedom, woohoo, let's go. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Right now we're ending up with a lot of procedures over this topic, and of course regulators would like to regulate. So, and they will try to regulate. If somebody wants to get rid of regulation, of course you can try to do so. You can use Bitcoin without and try to avoid the regulation. But when you use Bitcoin and you then would like to exchange it to fiat and tries to use the traditional banking system, of course you will face the regulation. So it's more a question to the community. Do we have the community that are ready to use only cryptocurrencies without any kind of fiat, who are ready to not to rely on traditional banking system, to use, for example, Bitcoin to pay for the for everything, yeah, or we don't ready at the moment. We're not ready at the moment. So I believe that we're not ready yet.
I have one a little bit addition. Let's imagine there is no fiat. Everyone switched to waves or Bitcoins, whatever. Do you think those guys are going to stop regulating? They will implement something new.
Of course, they will try to do so. But regulator can regulate only that things that they can regulate. So very, very interesting statement, I suppose. If it's something lies behind or lies out of the scope that they can regulate. For example, maybe you remember I mentioned Luxembourg guys. Yeah. And they pitch are very concrete. So they we would like to regulate only the fiat part. We are not. We don't have any kind of authority or power to regulate the crypto part because we doesn't have the guidelines. We doesn't have the regulation itself. We don't understand how to regulate what's going on in the crypto side, for example, of the Bitstamp. So we will regulate only fiat system. Of course, maybe in a year or in 2 years, it would be guidelines. For example, right now a lot of state authorities works on AML KYC standard for the crypto, and of course it will be implemented in a couple of months, maybe on years, and of course regulators will try to regulate. But answering your initial question, of course it's just a matter of do you have a community which will allow you to use only cryptocurrency without any kind of fiat. If you will have this kind of community, of course you can use only crypto and tries to avoid the regulation.
Okay, one last part of my question. Is there any country who has stated out, okay, we want to be the crypto oasis and everyone who's doing crypto exchange, etc., can do it free here, everyone get the license, etc.? Is there such a country? From your experience?
No. Actually, every year we have the local champion of crypto oasis #1. So I remember 2015 it was Isle of Man, 2016 it was Japan, 2017 it was Singapore, 2018 it's Malta. Thank you. So, but none of them are actually crypto heaven because they're connected with the real fiat world, and they don't want to have all their banking licenses withdrawn by the other countries. So they don't want to be a part of some kind of dark lists or something like this. So it's very interesting strategy. Of course, it sounds very interesting, but in practical way, it's a little bit impossible strategy.
Can I add to this? So there are certain jurisdictions, like so-called offshores, Cayman Islands, BVIs. They don't have actually pronunciated yet about how they will look at the crypto exchange business or cryptocurrency business. So in theory, those are like in gray zone right now. The problem is what Artem mentioned earlier. If you go and operate a business in Cayman Islands, you probably will not be able to have a good operational setup with European countries because no banks will cooperate with you, they will not open accounts to you, and so on and so on. So if you're ready to operate only crypto-to-crypto business, well, for now there are countries that, well, you can do that, but it can't be operational if you look a little bit at the bigger picture and try to expand from that.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I suggest that we wrap it up this part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have a beer.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.